Okay, gang. Today I'm going to finish up, or hopefully finish up, getting the core support, the fender apron, and a few other pieces put into this front end of this car. I did get the apron from Mustangs Unlimited. They sent that, of course. I have this additional piece right here. I think I showed that earlier. That's going to go on the outside of the apron. And I'll show you that when I put it on. That's a fender brace. And get that in place, but I'm just going to get started on this and try to get this thing taken care of. As I'm mocking this up, I just want to show you a couple things. I think I showed in an earlier video the fitment of the core support in between the frame rails, which I already replaced, and how they interact together. But what I wanted to show you here, when I do these things, I mock up the part, and in this case I duplicated, there you go, this is a new camera, so I'm still learning how to use it and get good shots. I duplicated the pattern from the apron that was already here. I'll move that out of the way, and you can just see where I had ground off the old welds, so that gives me that pattern. Now on the other side I don't have the pattern yet, but what I'm going to do is fit the apron, get it in place, and then I can pick up a pattern off of it or make my own pattern. But I wanted to show you, whenever I put this up in place, this apron, you know, you can do some measurements and make sure you get your lengths right, but also by having the existing shock tower, I can use what we call the witness mark. So let me take this vice grip out of the way, and if you look, you'll see exactly where the old one sat. There's a line, a very defined line next to where the welds are and the bolt holes. So I can slip that down in, line up that witness mark, and also look down here and see the alignment of the holes, and that should get you within the range. Now of course I'll get it in place roughly, and then reset the core support and verify that it's in the right location. But just some things to look for, you know, little things like this can help you get it set right and making it look good. Okay, so here's a mock-up of the core support and the fender apron. Now putting this together, I wanted to show you a couple things. One, up here on top where the apron is, there should be a hole right here. You can see the original piece had a hole, and that's kind of an alignment hole at the factory. I know there's variables with restampings, but there's just something I wanted to point out. That's why those holes are there. So when they jig this up at the factory, it would line up. So beyond that, it's going to be up to me to make the final adjustments. But down here I wanted to show on this apron, see that gap right there? The apron doesn't have the same shape as the core support. The core support has a little bit of a joggle to it, and that doesn't. Now that's not a big deal, but I'll probably work that in a little bit so that this gap goes away. The original piece appears to have had that joggle from what I can see. It's not that critical, it's just a little thing I wanted to point out. Now the other thing is, in doing this and trying to make sure this is square, is I'm going to take a tape measure and I'll find a couple points that are fixed locations. Sorry about the camera. But like say here, this is where the brace mounts from the shock tower to the firewall. So I can pull straight off of that and get a measurement to the corner. And in this case, I'm just around 48, maybe 48 1/16. And I can do the same thing going the other way, because these braces should be in a jigged location whenever it's built. And come back over here, and there it is. Just about the same measurement. Now these cars weren't very tight as far as tolerances. You know, modern cars are within millimeters, and these cars, as we know, were not. So not a big deal. But just little details to try to make the car a better car. Okay, so the apron is in place. Got all my spot welds filled. Looks good, fits good. Now I talked about the witness mark back here, and I ended up bringing it forward just a little bit because when I put the core support in, when I mocked it up, the core support squared it back into position. So no big deal. Sometimes they're a little off. And the other thing is, I made that little joggle down there, and that was easy enough. I just put a dolly behind it and tapped it with a hammer, and it rolled pretty easy. This metal's pretty soft. But next step is to get the core support in, and that'll take care of this front area. And then I've also prepped the areas here where these little straps go between the rear apron and the cowl. So I'll get those welded in as well. And that should just about address everything on the front end. I still have a few little places to fix up. I'll show you another video later. It'll be on the rain gutters. But this should finish up the core support. And there you have the core support and the fender apron in place. Everything's welded. Did some of the blending. And now it's back to being nice and solid again. I also welded in the braces between the cowl panel and the rear aprons on both sides. Those turned out nice. And now the next thing is I'm going to add this little brace. Now here's a shot of the original piece, and you can see it was rusted out, a little rough looking, and no way I was going to transfer that over from this piece to the new piece. So I just measured, got a rough measurement from this face to the front of what the original core support was, and basically just duplicated that here, and it fits okay. I had to manipulate it a little bit, and I'll just weld that on, and it'll flex a little if it needs to when we get the fender on. But that'll be the last step on this front apron area, and then I'll move on and take care of some other small pieces I have to weld in. Some of the braces for the rear seat have to go back in, and I got to finish the side braces on the firewall.